Hello everyone, welcome back to this lecture series on chemical and physical equilibria. This is lecture number 19. In this lecture I am going to discuss the thermodynamic derivation of phase rule for reactive system. In my last lecture I discussed about phase rule for non-reactive system. In this lecture I am going to focus on the thermodynamic derivation of phase rule for reactive system. Okay, yeah, let's get into the topic. Derivation of phase rule for reactive system. Now consider a system exists in phase equilibrium having p number of phases and c independent constituents. Okay, so now we have p phases and c constituents, and here we are going to make two assumptions. These are the assumptions. Number one, chemical reaction occurs in the system. Now see, we have a system. This is what saying. Okay, suppose I am having a system like this, and this is phase 1. Okay, this is phase 2, right, and this is phase 3. Like this we have many phases, and assume that this is phase P. So we have p number of phases, and C constituents or C independent constituents are present in these phases. Okay, now chemical reaction may occur, okay, in one or two phases, right? Suppose assume that some chemical reaction is occurring in this phase. Okay, if chemical reaction occurs, right, how to find the phase rule for this type of system? This is what we are going to discuss in this lecture. Okay, then, so the first assumption is that chemical reaction occurs in the system. Okay, so chemical reaction may occur in one phase or more than one phase also, right? It depends upon the chemical system that we are the system that we are taking. Okay, and what is the second assumption? The second assumption is that each chemical species is present in every phase. Okay, each chemical species is present in every phase. So this is the second assumption we are making, right? Suppose if we have in phase 1, let us assume component 1, component 2, component 3 up to C components, right? All these components are present in phase 1, right? And similarly all these components also present in phase 2, all these components also present in phase 3, right? So all the components from component 1 to component C, all the components are present in all the phases. Okay, this is the second assumption, right? Now, so these things we have discussed already, but anyway I'll just brush up, right? So how to find the total number of intensive variables available for the system? Okay, so as I told you before, temperature should be considered as one variable, because temperature should be same for all the phases. Okay, therefore temperature should be considered as one variable. Similarly, pressure should be considered as one variable for a system. Okay, only the composition or the mole fraction terms for each species, right, will be more in number actually. So mole fraction of component 1 in phase 1, mole fraction of component 1 in phase 2, okay, component 1 in phase 3, component 1 in phase 4, similarly component 1 in phase P. Okay, so here see, for each phase we have a mole fraction term for component 1. Similarly for each phase we have a mole fraction term for component 2. Okay, therefore see, for component 1 there are p variables. Okay, if you take each one as a variable, so there should be p variables for component 1 in the system. Similarly, there should be p variables for component 2 in the system. Okay, similarly for all the component we have p number of variables, mole fraction terms, right? In a similar manner for component C also we have totally p mole fraction terms. So what is the total number of mole fraction terms that is available in the system? Since we have C component totally, so there should be P into C, right? There should be P into C total mole fraction terms, okay, should exist. Therefore, the composition term, total number of composition term is P into C, right? So, including this composition term and temperature and pressure, what is the total? So, total number of intensive variables that is available in the system is PC plus 2. So, this is total, okay. But as I told you in the last lecture that these variables, okay, are related with each other by some equations, okay. So, by relating the variables with some equation, we can neglect, or we can we need not specify, right, some of the variables, or we need not consider some of the variables to specify the state of the system, okay, right. So, what's meant by that? You see that. See, equations that relates the composition variables, right? What are the equations available? Number one, sum of mole fractions of all the components in every phase must be equal to 1, okay. So, if you take phase 1, in phase 1 mole fraction, sum of the mole fractions of all the components should be equal to 1. So, see here, if I take phase 1, in phase 1 mole fraction of component 1 in phase 1, mole fraction of component 2 in phase 1, mole fraction of component 3 in phase 1, similarly mole fraction of component C in phase 1. If you add all these mole fractions, that should be equal to 1. And as I told you in the last class, if you know the mole fractions of these components, okay, then the mole fraction of the first one is automatically get fixed. So, you need not fix this variable. This variable is not necessary. You need not fix this variable. Therefore, from the first equation, okay, we can neglect one variable. One variable you need not to fix. It is not necessary to fix. Similarly, for phase 2, in phase 2 also all components are present. Therefore, mole fraction of component 1 in phase 2, mole fraction of component 2 in phase 2, mole fraction of component 3 in phase 2. Similarly, mole fraction of component C in phase 2. If you add all these mole fraction terms, that should also be equal to 1. Here also, if you know the values of these variables, then the value of the other variable get automatically fixed, okay. So, from this equation we can subtract one variable from the total, because these variables need not to be fixed. So, for each phase, right, for each phase, using the equation we can subtract one variable from the total, right. Since there are p phases exist, okay, so altogether there should be p variables, okay, supposed to be subtracted from the total. These p variables, right, need not to be fixed because of this relation, that is sum of mole fractions of all the component, okay, of each phase should be equal to 1, right. Then second equation that relates the intensive variables are chemical potential. Chemical potential of component, this is component, I'm sorry, chemical potential of a component in all the phases must be same at equilibrium. What's meant by that? See, chemical potential of component 1 in phase 1 should be equal to chemical potential of component 1 in phase 2, should be equal to chemical potential of component 1 in phase 3, okay. Similarly, chemical potential of component 1 in all the phases should be equal, okay. And as I told you in the last lecture, here see how many equal to symbols are there. How many equal to symbol? Since there are p phases exist, there should be p minus 1 equal to symbols exist. So, if I know one variable, if I know this variable, then you need not specify the other variables, okay. Or we can say in the other way, okay, for the component 1, right, using this relation you need not specify p minus 1 variables. You just specify one variable, because since these are all equal, if you know the value of one variable, automatically other variable get fixed, okay. So, you need not worry about the remaining p minus 1 variables. Similarly, from the second equation for component 2 also, right, you need not specify p minus 1 variables, right? In a similar manner for all the component, okay, for each and every component we need not specify p minus 1 variables. Okay, so all together, okay, we need not specify. So totally we have C components. So C into p minus 1 variables you need not fix. Okay, because these variables get automatically fixed, right? Once you know the one of the variable in each equation, right? Then so these two conditions, these two, that is this equation gives p variables to be subtracted from the total, and this equation gives you c into p minus 1 variables to be subtracted from the equation. Then if chemical reaction occurs, okay, if your system is a reactive system, then some additional conditions will come, right? What are they? Yeah, suppose if chemical chemical reaction occurs, right, or if any other additional conditions exist, then we need to subtract some more terms from the total. Okay, say for example, suppose assume that this equilibrium reaction, say A plus B giving C plus D, right? If this reaction, right, exists, if this chemical equilibrium reaction exists in a particular phase, right, and we know very well the condition for chemical equilibrium is, right, summation of stoichiometric number of each species into chemical potential of each species, okay, that should be equal to 0. See what is meant by that? For this reaction, chemical potential, so we have for each product we have one stoichiometric numbers. So for product, stoichiometric number for C is 1 into chemical potential of C, plus stoichiometric number for D is 1 and into chemical potential of D. Okay, then minus 1, because for reactant stoichiometric number should be a negative one. Okay, therefore for reactant A, stoichiometric number is minus 1. So minus 1 into chemical potential of A, then minus 1 into chemical potential of B, that should be equal to 0. Okay, so this condition arises out of the criterion of the chemical equilibrium. Okay, now listen, here we have 4 intensive variables, right? If you know any 3 variable, if you know the values of any 3 variable, then the 4th variable get automatically fixed. So for each chemical equilibrium, right, you need not fix one particular variable. Okay, I repeat once again, using the criterion of chemical equilibrium, right, if you know the values of say n minus 1 variables, then the last variable get automatically fixed. You need not worry about that. Okay, or otherwise I can say in the other manner that for each chemical equilibrium, okay, one variable you need not fix it, not necessary to fix. Okay, yeah. So suppose if there are R equilibrium reaction exists, say this is one equation, right? This is one equation. Similarly, there may be many chemical reaction exist, right, in the system. So suppose if you have R number of chemical equilibrium exists in the system, then we have to subtract R number of variables from the total. Okay, yeah. So this R indicates number of chemical equilibrium, right? Number of chemical equilibrium exists in the system. Okay, then apart from this chemical equilibrium condition, right, if chemical reaction takes place, some other things may also come. Okay, some other additional condition. What is the additional condition? Listen, this is very, very important. People often get confused in identifying the additional conditions, right? Yeah, see, what are the additional conditions? When additional condition will arise? Okay, number 1, if the products, okay, suppose if chemical reaction takes place, if the products are in same state, suppose products are in gaseous state, or all the products are in liquid state or solid state, right? If the products are in same state and they arise only from the reaction, okay, suppose if the products are coming only from the reaction, then mole fraction of the products can be related with the equations. What is meant by that? See, say for example, I'll take this equation. Say ammonium chloride is a very famous equation. Ammonium chloride, solid ammonium chloride on heating will give you ammonia gas and HCl gas. Okay, now see, we have two products and both are in the gaseous state. If products are formed in the same state, then we can relate the two products, okay, with some chemical equation. How? See, from this equation, it's a balanced equation. It is very clear that if 1 mole of ammonia is formed, at the same time 1 mole of HCl will be formed. Therefore, at any instant or at equilibrium, we can say in the other way, at equilibrium, number of moles of ammonia formed should be equal to the number of moles of HCl formed, because ammonia and HCl are formed only from the reaction. Okay, so since the products are formed only from the reaction, number of moles of ammonia should be equal to number of moles of HCl. Okay, so if I divide this value by total, I'll get mole fraction. So if I divide the value by total number of moles, okay, I'll get mole fraction of ammonia should be equal to mole fraction of HCl. So what does this indicate? If you know the mole fraction of ammonia, okay, then mole fraction of HCl get automatically fixed because they are equal. So using this additional condition, we can subtract one variable, right, from the total. Okay, this variable I'm going to represent this by the symbol Z. So I'm going to subtract one value from the total due to this additional condition. So I'll repeat. This additional condition arises, okay, when the products are formed in same state and the products are obtained only from the chemical reaction. Okay, then you can use this condition, right, and you can subtract one variable from the total. Suppose we have one more additional condition is there. What is that? This is another additional condition. If the system contains ions, suppose if ions are present, right, in aqueous medium, say for example, if the system contains ions, then to maintain electrical neutrality, the mole fractions of the ions can be related with the equation. What is meant by that? Suppose I'll take a system, so I'll take some system which consists full of aqueous sodium chloride. Okay, I have a solution. This vessel consists of full of aqueous sodium chloride. Okay, listen, apart from number of phases, number of component, okay, other things, listen, electrical neutrality should be maintained because sodium chloride in the solution state, right, it will dissociate and gives you sodium ion and chloride ion. Okay, so in solution sodium chloride exists only as sodium ion and chloride ion. So this is one constituent, this is another constituent. Okay, now to maintain electrical neutrality, you know very well, even if you dissolve any amount of sodium chloride in water, the solution should be neutral. Why the solution is neutral? It is because since sodium ion and chloride ion carry equal amount of charge, okay, we can say that number of moles of sodium ion should be equal to number of moles of chloride ion to maintain electrical neutrality. To maintain electrical neutrality. Otherwise, one charge become greater than the other one. Okay, which is not supposed to, which is not at all possible. Therefore, what we can say that the total number of moles of sodium ion in solution should be equal to total number of moles of chloride ion in solution. Okay, so since sodium ion and the chloride ion carry equal amount of charge, okay, so number of moles of sodium ion if it is equal to number of moles of chloride ion, then the total positive charge, okay, get balanced by the total negative charge of the system. Okay, now listen, if I divide these two by total number of moles, then I will get mole fraction of sodium ion should be equal to mole fraction of chloride ion. So I have brought the intensive variables, mole fraction, right? Now listen, if I know mole fraction of sodium ion, we need not worry about mole fraction of chloride ion, because since they are equal, if you know any one variable, the other variable get automatically fixed. Therefore we can subtract one from the relation, from the total. Is it clear? So if a reactive system is given, right, you have to look upon these additional things, that is, apart from this equation, that is sum of mole fraction of all the components in every phase must be equal. This is one condition. Then chemical potential of a component in all the phases must be same. This is second equation. Apart from these two equations, if reactive system is present, then you have to look upon, is there any chemical equilibrium present or not. If there is a chemical equilibrium, for each chemical equilibrium reaction you have to subtract 1. Okay, so if there are r number of chemical equilibrium reaction exist, then you have to subtract r from the total. Okay, then in reactive system some other additional condition will arise. Okay, there are two additional conditions. Number one, if the products are in same state, suppose in a chemical reaction you are getting 2 or more product, if all the products are formed in same state, okay, and the product arises only from the reaction, okay, you should not add any product externally. Okay, so if the products arise only from the reaction, then you can relate the products using some equation, and using that equation it is possible to subtract some of the variables, or which is it is possible for us that we need not specify some of the variables. Okay, this is I am going to represent by the symbol Z. Okay, so Z is the number of variables that has to be subtracted from the total due to this additional condition. Okay, then we have one more additional condition. Suppose if your system contain ions, then to maintain electrical neutrality, okay, right, some additional condition will arise, right, and for this additional condition also we have to subtract one variable, right. So in the case of reactive system, okay, we have to concentrate on all these items. Okay, yeah. Then now how to find out the total independent intensive variables, also called degree of freedom. So degree of freedom is equal to, what is the total number of intensive variable available? Okay, see in the first page I have derived this. Yeah, total number of intensive variable available is PC plus 2. I'll write here. Yeah, PC plus 2. This is total number of intensive variables minus the total number of variables to be subtracted. Okay, what are they? So the first equation, using this equation we can subtract p variables. Okay, p variables, plus using the second equation, that is this equation, we can subtract c into p minus 1 variables. We can subtract c into p minus 1 variables, plus then using, suppose if the system is a reactive system, then the third condition, this thing will arise, equilibrium. Okay, so for each chemical equilibrium, right, we have to subtract 1. If there are r chemical equilibrium reaction exists, then we have to subtract r from the total. So we have to subtract r from the total, plus then if the system contains any additional terms, right, the additional term may arise due to this condition, or the additional term condition may arise because of this. Okay, so anyway, for these we have to subtract z variables. Okay, so what we'll get here is PC plus 2 minus P. Okay, and here if I multiply this by C, you'll get PC. Here you'll get minus C. If I multiply but with minus sign here, so you'll get minus PC and minus or minus plus C. Okay, minus R minus Z. Okay, plus PC minus PC get cancelled. So I'll write C first. C minus R minus Z minus P plus 2. Okay, I'm going to call this as, okay, where C is the actual number of constituents present, R is the number of chemical equilibrium reactions exist, Z is the additional conditions, right? And I'm going to call this C minus R minus Z as C independent, okay, minus P plus 2. And this is the phase rule for reactive systems. Okay, so for reactive system, phase rule F is equal to it has same form as we discussed for non-reactive system. It has same form. The only difference is that in the previous case we used the symbol C. Here I am using the symbol C independent. Okay, so we need to find out actual number of independent variables that is needed to be fixed for to study the system completely. Okay, yeah. So I hope that you have understood this concept clearly. Okay, thank you for listening.